In the top stories, another successful Prime Minister's health walk held in constituency number 7. Government of Antigua and Barbuda to introduce tracing technology to monitor people in self-quarantine, and skeptics wary of Hong Kong COVID testing program. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Monday, August 31st, 2020. I am your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Nationally, the Prime Minister's health walk held in Constituency 7 on Saturday has been described as successful. The walk, which was held under the SKN Moves initiative, began at 6 a.m. on the Island Main Road in Bellevue and continued through Tabernacle on to Mansion and Christchurch, up through Borio and ended in Otlis Village. During the walk, Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris said part of the effort of promoting the St. Kitts and Nevis moves is to bring greater consciousness as to the individual ability to impact positively at their health. He said, quote, "We had asked that every activity people were doing to try to bring it to the extent possible under the branding of the SKN Moves. In other words, demonstrating that St. Kitts and Nevis is at work and has brought into the CARICOM initiative of getting our people into great physical activity as a way of their having greater control over their health," end quote. The Prime Minister expressed thanks to Health Minister Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, Ambassador Kevin Williams, Ambassador Ian Liburd, the Taiwanese Ambassador His Excellency Tom Lee, and Deputy Speaker Senator the Honorable Dr. Bernicia Nisbet for participating in the walk. In other news, ZIZ Radio and TV will once again be providing live coverage of Leadership Matters, the virtual forum series on Tuesday, August 31st, with Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Joining the Prime Minister on the panel will be Minister of Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, the Honorable Jonelle Powell. Minister Powell's appearance comes about a week before students return to school on the 9th of September. The call-in numbers for Leadership Matters are 1-869-466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and 1-239-645-4500. Questions can also be sent via WhatsApp to 869-661-5683. Leadership Matters, their Stick app, and the ZIZ News app. And as we wrap up, the 2020-2021 executive for the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association was elected at the 19th Annual General Meeting held at the Kuna Caribbean Conference Center at the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Cards of Honorary Members, which include the late Desmond E. Ward, founding member, Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, founding member, Sir Samuel W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG, CVO QCJP, LLD, Charles Wilkin QC, Jose Lloyd, Dennis Knight BA, MBA, Marcella Liburd, Sam Conder, and G.A. Dwyer Astafan. Patrice Harris was returned to the position of President and Moriel Knight as Vice President. The other members of the newly elected executive are Jeremiah Welcome, General Secretary, Carissa Roberts, Treasurer, and Malachi Ferguson, Public Relations Officer. The electoral process was supervised by 2 honorary members and 1 alumnus, Sam Conder, Dwyer Astafan, and Deanne Henry. Mr. David Lake, country manager for Flow, delivered the keynote address to the association on the topic Leadership, Precision and Performance, in highlighting the challenges of being a leader. We now move to news on the regional scene in Antigua and Barbuda. Technology will be used to ensure people who have been asked to self-quarantine do in fact remain at home. The new measure is being implemented in response to the irresponsible actions of some returning nationals. More in this ABS News report.
Known cases of COVID-19 in Antigua and Barbuda dropped to 0 Saturday after 2 more people recovered from the disease. But officials are warning if people do not adhere to established health protocols, the virus that causes COVID-19 could spread widely among the population.
We were told that there's a returning national who went to Scotiabank to do business within 2 days of returning to the island, which was totally unacceptable. but that person was reported to health officials and action was taken.
Prime Minister Donald Gatson Brown speaking on his weekly radio program on Point FM Saturday. He encourages members of the local population to report irresponsible individuals who flout the country's health protocols. Opposition leader, the Honorable Jamal Pringle, has also expressed concern about returning nationals disregarding the COVID-19 regulations.
Persons that came in to Antigua and Barbuda, that should be home quarantining. They're out, even at registration centers, trying to get registered. So whether or not, Mr. Speaker, they're my people or not, if you're to be quarantined, that's where you should be.
Prime Minister Brown says it has been difficult for health officials to ensure people remain in self-quarantine. In response, he says the government will introduce tracing technology to track those quarantining at home.
We're probably maybe 3 weeks away from getting the bracelets and the supporting technology.
The Prime Minister warns people who break the country's regulations will pay. At least one country is already using technology to ensure people stay in quarantine. As of August 11, all travelers entering Singapore who are serving their stay-home notice outside of dedicated facilities must wear an electronic monitoring device throughout their quarantine period. Jamie J. Roche, ABS News.
The conversation continues on human trafficking and its impact on Jamaica. Experts believe that the social ill continues to affect development and the country's economic growth, and more steps must be taken to address it. More in this CVM News report.
People often link disappearances to human trafficking, and experts agree both are connected. The Ministry of Justice established its National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons in 2005 to develop an operational response to human trafficking, and since then has interviewed thousands of victims, resulting in the conviction of suspects. Experts say it has been effective with the work of other partners.
I believe the United Nations Development Programme project had more to do with updating the findings on human trafficking, taking account of the convictions that Jamaica has had, and I know we had a recent one as well, so it is something that is still very high on the government's agenda. But also to take account of the impact of the legislation to protect the rights of human beings.
She believes a special focus must also be placed on children as they are being bought, sold and resold by abusers who mistreat them sexually and physically or use them to commit crime.
So it's little things like ensuring that a young female child is not in a room with a locked door with another male, to ensure that children are considered and their safety is protected.
United Nations experts have called on citizens to take part in peace-building processes as a way to prevent human trafficking.
The peace management that currently exists in the society, we need for it to be more widely embraced.
Khadija Thomas, CVM Live.
On the international scene, Hong Kong's government says 500,000 people have already signed up for its free universal coronavirus testing program, which is due to launch on Tuesday. But a pro-democracy union of healthcare workers has called for a boycott because the plan is being funded by the Chinese government. Al Jazeera's Sarah Clark reports.
In a city still struggling with a third wave of coronavirus infection, the government says mass testing is the best way to put Hong Kong on a course for recovery.
The Universal Community Testing Program is running from September 1st.
The government is heavily promoting the campaign, which has been funded by mainland China's central government at a cost of $20 million. The offer was presented as a favour to the city. The government has released this video thanking mainland authorities for their help.
Let me reiterate that this is a 100% voluntary universal testing program. The aim is to ensure those who want to get tested can get tested.
More than 140 centres have now been set up, with voluntary testing to start on Tuesday. The Hong Kong government says it's responsible for sample collection. But a team of 60 medical staff from China will lead the screening, and 3 mainland-based laboratories will process the results. China's involvement is being viewed with scepticism by some who fear the genetic data could be used for other purposes.
We do not know how the data will be stored, how long they are going to retain, or if they are collecting the data for testing. So would they use it for comparison, for statistics? We don't know.
Despite a recent outbreak, Hong Kong has seen a downward trend of fewer than 100 cases for more than 20 days. The government says this screening program aims to address
to those with Hong
Kong.
French President Emmanuel Macron led nationwide outrage after an ultra-conservative magazine portrayed a black lawmaker as a slave. More in this report.
She is a member of parliament and the target of racism. Depicted as being shackled with chains around her neck, the MP, Danielle Obono, has been portrayed in a 7-page fictional story as a slave. The piece in the conservative French magazine Valeurs Actuelles is being condemned across the French political spectrum, starting with the lawmaker herself. Obono said on social media that the, quote, racist crap in the rag was true to form. Odious, stupid and cruel. The French Prime Minister also wrote that the revolting publication calls for an unambiguous condemnation. Jean Castex offered his support, as did Emmanuel Macron, who called the MP. However, anti-racism activists say Macron himself and his government have actually helped create a creeping acceptance of such racism by giving interviews, as Macron did last year to the magazine, which caters to the right and far right.
Emmanuel Macron, the French president, and Marlène Schiappa in the French government decided to give interviews to Valeurs Actuelles. And by giving those interviews, they actually normalized Valeurs Actuelles, normalized this idea. However, far-right extremism will always be far-right extremism.
On Saturday, Valeurs Actuelles issued an apology to Obono. But the magazine said the so-called summer read was not meant as an attention-grabbing ploy or to harm. The lawmaker is currently weighing whether to take the magazine to court for spreading racist and extremist ideas.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows partly cloudy skies with a moderate breeze of 12 miles per hour blowing from the northeast. Today's temperature will peak at 27 degrees Celsius. That's 81 degrees Fahrenheit. A surface trough will move into the area later this evening, bringing with it weak, unstable conditions. Therefore, cloudy spells with showers are possible across the islands after that time. Expect partly sunny and slightly hazy conditions with a 40% or a moderate chance of showers today, while tonight is expected to be partly cloudy with a 40% or a moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:25 p.m. and the sun is expected to rise tomorrow at 5:57 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.